Welcome to part 4 of this video series. In the last video, we showed you how to organize your Sublime build systems into variants. This time around, we're going to show you how to make project-specific build systems. With project-specific build systems, you can keep all the build systems that only pertain to certain projects out of your list of build systems until you're actually working on that project that uses those build systems. Also, the file that contains your build systems can be placed in your project's repository instead of just in your users packages folder, so it's easily shared with the rest of the team. Now, let's get started. First, we'll start off by creating a project in Sublime. It's simple to create a project. First, just make sure you have the folder or folders that pertain to your project opened in the sidebar. Technically, there doesn't need to be any folders, but there usually are. Otherwise, it's just an empty project. Then, just go to the project menu and select Save Project As. The best idea is to save the project file somewhere within the project repository so that it's available for every team member working on the project. Now, we'll just save this project as example. There, now we have a project. You can't tell much difference though, can you? The best way to know if you're in a project and which project you're in is to look at the title bar. The project name will be in parentheses near the end. Now, let's close this project so I can show you how to open up the project. If you go to Project, Open Project, you can find the Sublime project file you just saved and open that to open the project up. You can also find projects you've recently worked on under Project Open Recent. Finally, you can use Project Quick Switch Project to bring up a little palette that lists all your recent projects in it. This is really only useful versus Open Recent because you can bind a keyboard shortcut to this. Mac and Linux should already have a shortcut bound, but with the latest release of Sublime, they've turned off the default binding on Windows because it often conflicted with other shortcuts. If you want to set up the shortcut or change it, you can go into your key binding preferences and create one as I have on my machine. Now that we know how to open a project and we have one open, let's edit our project file. You can do that by going to Project, Edit Project. You could also just find the project file in the File Explorer and open it from there, but I tend to alter my settings to hide these files because they clutter up the file list. If you take a look at the project file, you won't find a whole lot right now. Just a JSON file with the list of folders in the sidebar. Their paths are relative to the project file. There are several things you can do in a project file. You can control which files do and do not show up in the sidebar using the File Exclude Patterns option, which is how I prevent the project file from showing up on the left. You can also use the Settings property to override your Sublime user settings. This allows for some settings, like tab size, to be specified for the project to guarantee that each member is using the same rules. Sadly, most settings don't really make sense to be in here. I've linked to the documentation in the description below the video if you want to learn more about what you can do with projects. Now, what we're here to focus on is build systems still. So let's take a look at that. First, we need to add a property called build systems, which is an array of build system objects. Now, each of these objects is just like the contents of one of the build files we've done before, but since we don't have the individual files, they're all going to need names. So, we give it a name and a simple command. Then save the project file. Now, if we take a look at our build systems, we'll see our high build system listed near the top, above a separator line that splits the project-specific build systems from the machine-specific build systems. If we had multiple build systems defined in that array in the project file, they'd each appear up here. Now, let's select our build system and run it, and we'll see our expected build results below. Now, let's take a closer look at how we can put these build systems to work in real-life situations. I'm going to copy a few pre-made build systems over so I don't have to type them all up. As you can see, I actually have all of my build systems set up as variants of a single parent build system. Like I showed in video 3, these variants allow me to choose a single build system under the Tools menu, and then just use a keyboard shortcut to quickly choose which of the variants I would like to run. The other thing of note here is that most of these are using NPM Scripts. I highly recommend this. This keeps your project's build system simple and clear, and it also allows you to easily run your builds without requiring you to be in Sublime text or having to write out any long complicated commands in the command line. You may also notice that I'm using the -s option in all of our NPM scripts. This is the silent option. Normally when you run an NPM script, it'll show a little message telling you which NPM scripts you're running and such. This -s just hides that message. This last build system also has an env property defined. This allows you to set environment variables so you can control your build process based on those as well. Finally, as you can see, there are no working directories specified. This is because the default working directory is the directory that the project file is saved in. If you're paranoid, or if you need a different working directory for some build systems, you can still add them in here, just like with any other build system. Well, that's all I have for you guys in this video series. I hope you learned a bit, and as always, God bless and happy coding.